Okay, 3, 2, 1, and here we go. I am LeRod Smalls, and yes, this is Rise of the Black Warrior podcast. So, we are back for another episode, and I am grateful that you're joining me. Whether you're watching us live in the studio here on YouTube on the channel, or you're listening through iTunes or Spotify in your car, your headphones, wherever you're at, I want to thank you for chiming in and sharing this conversation. Share it with anybody who could use it. We bring messages from mentors about things that matter to create more power in your life. So let's talk about today's conversation. I'm going to bring you a little snippet from the talk I had with my son. We were walking around on Saturday. It was a beautiful experience. Definitely to all you dads, man, take some time to share what it is that you're learning in your world with the kids that will take over the world. And those are your sons and those are your daughters. So I had a great conversation with him, and I shared something with him around an idea I think could bring you power and definitely could share with some people that you know. So here we go. There's a major function that we learn as kids about how and do. Soon as somebody asks you to take on a task, you immediately think, well, how do I do it? So how is it going to get done, and what do I need to do? It was programmed into us from the days that we learned the language. From being little kids, we learn immediately, soon as you are posed with an issue or something to take on, it is how and do. And it's probably so embedded into who you are right now as a person, you're thinking in your mind, well, what else could there possibly be? So I gave him this explanation because when I was challenging him with this, he was also perplexed. He's only 11 years old, but he's thinking to himself, hey, listen, all I know is, well, how do I do it? Or what should I be doing? And I posed this to him. I said, well, son, we were standing next to a tree. If I asked you to chop down this tree, what would your first reaction be? He said, well, how would I do it? And what do I need to do it with? And I said, well, let me ask you this question. The minute that you determine all those things that you have in your mind, you just start doing what? He said, well, I just start chopping down the tree. I'd get me an axe and I'd start chopping down the tree. And I said, well, what are the other things that's involved? And he really couldn't answer that question. And I said, well, what if you thought of it differently? What if you thought of, when I asked you about a task, you said, well, who do I need to be? See, the bigger question is never about what you need to do. It's about who you need to be. Well, if I asked you to chop down this tree and you said, well, who do I need to be? I need to be a lumberjack. Well, what does a lumberjack do? Well, if I hired a lumberjack to come and cut down a tree, I would expect that lumberjack to survey the area, to see where that tree is going to fall. What are we going to do with the wood when that tree is chopped down? How do I want to bring the tree down? Do I want to cut it from the bottom and have it fall? Do I need to clear the space around it in order for it to fall safely? Or do I want to chop it down bit by bit from the top all the way down? Am I going to need some help? Being that I'm chopping down such a big tree, do I need a permit to chop down this tree? All of the things that a lumberjack who is a professional tree cutter would take on. See, when you realize that it is who you be that's more important, the task starts to take on a more important role. You start to see it from a different perspective and start asking a better question, not just what to do. Like, what is it that that person who is doing something does? What does an electrician do? See, if I just rewired a light switch in my house, maybe it would burn up. I don't know. I'm just wiring a light switch. Am I being an electrician who has the insurances, who has the education, who has all of the knowledge and the tools in order to do a task correctly? And then know, hey, I have to decline certain tasks that people may ask me for if I'm not suited to be the person for that particular job. Have you been asked to take on a task when you cannot be the person that should be doing that task? See, that could easily be an abuse of who you are. If you are being used to do something that you are not proficient and set up to do, you are being used abnormally. That's the term, abuse, abnormal use. And I'm going to tell you, more importantly than anything else, is that you have to be in line with who it is that you be. So I hope you didn't get confused here. Let's go over this concept. If I were to ask you to do something, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, who do I need to be? Because when I be the person that's capable of taking on the specific task, I will look at the entire thing as a professional, as somebody who can really deal with it. Now, if I just start doing something, I may minimize what's possible. And another thing in doing is that whenever you think of how and do, you can become crippled and stop. You not even take on a task that you may think is too big, because you'll stop and say, hey, I don't know what to do. So you'll stop. But as soon as you put yourself in the space of who I must be, you will take that task on. See, a dog, he doesn't have to struggle to bark. A bird doesn't have to struggle to chirp. Because if it be a bird, it'll chirp. If it be a dog, it'll bark. We are human beings. We are not human doings. So I want you to go out and be dads. I want you to be entrepreneurs. I want you to be businessmen and be healthy athletes. Go out and be good to your community. Be a community leader. Just be a leader. All right. Listen, I'm excited that we had this conversation. I want you to go out and be the best human being that you can, because you're not a human doing. All right. So remember, if this podcast is providing you value and you're getting information that can serve you in your life and in your community, share it with others. It's the only thing I ask. Share it with other people that could be using this information and getting value from it. And I want you to also go to riseoftheblackwarrior.com. Take the challenge. Set yourself up to be the highest version of yourself. And remember this, you are only one decision away from changing your whole world. God bless everybody. Peace.